All right, one more shot. This is the third take of this. Because I realized that the second one, so the first one, phone stopped recording. Second one, I forgot a major talking point. But I wanted to talk about the movie Joker, Folie, Deux, um, and its connection to Daniel Johnston. Um, the movie ends. Um, movie ends how it ends. Go see the movie. I'm going to try and not talk about the movie too much. I want to talk about Daniel Johnston and the connection to the movie. The movie ends with a song, True Love Will Find You in the End by Daniel Johnston. Now, for those who don't know, Daniel Johnston was an outsider artist, musician, um, who famously suffered with mental illness, manic depressive, bipolar, whatever, um, throughout his whole life. You know, was in and out of institutions, was in and out of jail for various things that he did, but he very much um, changed the landscape for a lot of music. Inspired artists like Nirvana and Sonic Youth, countless others of artists love Daniel Johnston, um, and and his life was fraught with turmoil brought upon him by his mental illness. Um, and I think that's an important key to why the movie is misunderstood and why it should be why why that in itself is what that song being at the end of the movie unlocked the why people don't like the movie. For me at least, I enjoyed the movie. I thought it was a great movie. I get why people don't like it. It kind of doesn't commit to a lot of the storylines, but I think that's a symptom of them not being the point of it, right? Um, I just finished watching the movie The Devil and Daniel Johnston. It's a great documentary. You should watch it along with the movie Joker, Folie, Deux. Um, and I think the connection to between the two very much is that Daniel Johnston, throughout his entire life, didn't care if people um, liked his music. He he had a he had a calling from God, which is basically what he says. You know, he's on a mission from God to make music, to make art. This is Bats, by the way. This is my cat. He may jump in for a minute here, but he had a mission to make music, to make art, um, and all while being plagued by his mental illness for what a lot of people was the only thing they saw from him. I think the people who heard his music um, respected him more because of his music, um, and I think without that, they wouldn't. So that goes back to Joker, Folie à Deux, right? I'm not going to talk about all the big talking points about how this is not the Joker, or that it was never supposed to be the Joker. That's obvious, right? Like, you're going to hear that everywhere. I'm going to talk about how I think that this movie illustrates a big point that is lost in when discussing people with mental illness, um, how how a lot of them are only seen for their mental illness and are only seen as burdens of the state, or burdens of their families, and that takes a very heavy toll on their psyche. Um, the first movie very much beats us over the head with the idea of society and systems kind of neglecting a lot of the mentally ill and the poor, which is, I think that's the point, right? That I think that was the point of the first movie, because a lot of people like to throw out that, oh, Batman just beats up the poor and mentally ill, which to a point he does, sure. But another point people said about the first one is that this Joker could never fight the Batman, and that's true. He couldn't, because he's not. He couldn't. He would never want to. The movie, the second one very much illustrates that Arthur just wanted to be seen for who he was, and seen for, and respected, not for the mask that he put on, right? He wanted to be seen as Arthur Fleck. Unfortunately, Arthur Fleck killed a lot of people. And so now he's having to grapple with the repercussions of him not being able to take care of himself. And when looking towards, the system rejecting him, his family rejecting him, his mother abusing him and not respecting him, ridiculing him behind his back. These are all points in the movie that every time you see this, you kind of see him tinge and twinge a little bit, because he realizes, oh, I'm still not going to be able to be myself. Daniel Johnston, a lot of the times that he was, a lot of the times that he was seen as insane or, manic or anything like that, they immediately locked him up. He fortunately had a family who did care about him. I think his family didn't understand him, and family, didn't know exactly how to help him. There's a different time, it's always going to be a different time, whatever. The point is that his family very much was patient with him as much as they could be. I think when he was younger, I think they saw him just more as, just a rebellious young man. But as they got older, they realized, oh, you need actual help, and you need patience, and you need actual help, actual tentative help. Something that Joker's not going to get in Gotham. I think that is I feel like the story that wanted to be told by Todd Phillips, was that, what if you took somebody like that and put them in Gotham, in a system, in a world that is violent and corrupt, and it does just lead to more violence and more corruption. So I very much think the movie is good, and I think it's worth watching. I don't think it needs to. I think in time it will be more respected. I think people will understand it more as they see these connections that I'm trying to put forth here. I'm very exhausted now. Like I said, this is kind of the third time I'm recording this, but I think my ideas are a little bit more focused here. I am not somebody who knows how to edit music or edit videos, or yes, my baby. And thusly, I'm not going to edit or do anything to this video, as you've clearly seen if you've watched the runtime so far. But what I am is somebody who's honest, and somebody who cares, and somebody who loves. And I'm also somebody who just wants to be seen for who I am. My name is Matt. I've been Cruddy Holly on the internet for a long time. There are people in this world who know me as Cruddy. There are more people in my life who know me as Matt. So I guess I'm fortunate for that. But I very much have always struggled with the idea of wanting to be seen for who I am. I think a lot of trans people experience that. I think a lot of gay people experience that. I think a lot of mentally ill people experience that. Now, is there a correlation between these things? Not at all. But putting putting yourself on the back burner and hiding who you really are is damaging to yourself. It saves nobody but you. Or it doesn't save anybody. It doesn't save you. It doesn't save your friends. It doesn't save anybody because they don't know who you really are when you're constantly hiding yourself. I think the choice for the movie to become a musical was important because, again, the first movie was very violent and very harsh. And so when rage doesn't get you what you want, sometimes you gotta dance a little and get people to move along with you and sing the songs that you want them to sing. And when everyone's singing along to the same song, maybe somebody will hear it and hear what they're trying to say. And I think the movie tried to say something that needed to be said. And I think it's important that it was in a DC movie where DC's kind of floundered with its superhero movies. So it moved to doing something that it's known for doing, which is giving artists and writers a chance with their property that can be challenging. I was talking today with somebody about how they had said that why did it didn't have to be a Joker movie, it didn't have to be a DC movie, and he's right, it didn't. But also, I don't think we'd be talking about it then. He also brought up how it's frustrating when writers hate the source material. But I also think that that's important too. It's interesting that the movie's set in the 80s. I feel like it's kind of set in the 80s. It's definitely set in like the late 80s, early 90s, which is another time in comic books where you had a lot of challenging writers. The main one that I want to highlight is Arkham Asylum, ironically enough, or coincidentally enough, whatever, which was written by Grant Morrison and artist Dave McKean. Dave McKean famously hated superheroes. But he didn't want to draw Batman, definitely didn't want to draw Robin, completely wrote Robin out of the script because of it. And so what you ended up getting was this very controversial and very challenging piece graphic novel that shook the world. Like, it's a great graphic novel. Read it if you haven't. But it gives you this very nuanced and very interesting take on all these people, and honestly treats them as if they were mental patients in an asylum. It talks about how Two-Face has gone from his black and white thinking of the coin to a six-sided dice to a full deck of cards, right? To gain this breadth of emotions, that there's not just two sides to everything, that the world has many facets, and all the facets should be seen and presented. I think those things are important, and I think that comic books are a great medium for that, and comic book movies likewise should also be a great medium for that. Because you can't see what I'm looking at down here, but I've got all my books here, right? And at the foundation are all these spiritual books. At the bottom are all these spiritual books. And you go up and you kind of got these... I've got a lot of books about that are conversations between peoples, and nonfiction nonfiction books, reference books, and then you have above it are my books of like literature and stories and tales and all that sort of stuff, and above it are my comic books, where where I have collected a lot of the more my some of my favorite artists. Okay, baby, a lot of my favorite artists and writers, um, who have challenged me and have helped me gain a greater perspective of the world. And above that are my movies. So to me, it was just kind of like building this was a way um, to illustrate how I saw the flow of inspiration. Um, my point is that the comic book writers who wrote these, right, um, took from these, took from the literature, and literature took from the reality, and the reality took from the spirit. So I think the spirit of this film is one of acceptance and joy and dancing and love, and how all of these things in the mind of somebody who is struggling to maintain their grasp on reality, that person can be manipulated and abused and misunderstood, um, and a lot of their actions are just reactions to the world around them. Again, in Gotham, it's a violent, corrupt world. So when somebody, that's all they know, their own their their reaction to it is to be violent and corrupt. And I don't think Arthur Fleck ever wanted that. I think Arthur Fleck very much wanted to be loved and to make people happy and to make people laugh. But no one took it seriously. No one but him. And because of his mental illness, he couldn't get any kind of mentorship or or guidance to how to do that the proper way, because it's Gotham, and Gotham doesn't care, and to a point, this world doesn't care. But that doesn't mean that the reception of the first movie, how a lot of people took it as this kind of like manifesto for, the downtrodden and all this stuff, and their right to be bitter. No. I think what the reality of that is that those kind of people needed more patience given to them, and then maybe they would be more patient with the world. Likewise, Arthur Fleck needed someone to be patient with him and not disrespect him, and not be, not be disgusted by his mere existence. Now, that's not to say that the other people are at fault. I think Arthur Fleck just didn't know any better. And it's hard to know better when you're mentally ill. It's hard to see that there are options for you, that there's hope, because you end up getting stuck in the cycles of thought, that it's all hopeless, and it's not. It's never hopeless. You're never hopeless. There's love in this world because there's love within you. Go see the movie. This is the last time I'm going to record this. Hopefully I got everything I wanted to say in this. But go see the movie. See The Devil and Daniel Johnston. Understand that the people in this world aren't here to hurt you, because this isn't Gotham. The world is dark. but within us is a light. Within you is a light.